It was one of the more bizarre things I've ever seen yesterday. I spent an hour watching the Kansas Commerce Department meeting that included members of the House and the Senate in Topeka, where Chiefs representatives tried to basically calm down members of the legislature who were like, what did we just agree to on this boondoggle of a deal to bring the Chiefs to Kansas? And, I got to say, it's interesting because the concerns are coming from some conservatives and some liberals. It's kind of weird. And then you have people who are, frankly, either in on whatever the scheme is or are just not smart enough to ask the right questions, who are just going along to get along. That was my sense of it yesterday. So you had Corb Maxwell, who was with Pulcinelli, who was there on behalf of the Chiefs answering questions. You had Ron Reichman, former Speaker of the House, who's now a lobbyist on behalf of the Chiefs, answering questions of members of the House and the Senate yesterday. And I thought one of the better questions that was asked came from a local representative. I believe he's out of Fairway. Ruchu is his name, and he is a Democrat. But he asked the question that I've been proposing for the last month now, since this was announced. You guys have a star bond district that is beyond abusive of what a star bond district was intended to be, right? A star bond district was intended to be like, hey, this part of this region is going to benefit tremendously from this economic development, so we'll use future state resources over a period of time to pay off the project because we think it will lead to more growth. That's the idea. But when you have a district that spans all of Wyandotte County and like the western half of Johnson County, as if somehow the Mexican supermarket down on Central Ave in eastern Wyandotte County in KCK is somehow going to benefit from a stadium 15 miles down the road. That's just a scam. The idea that any dollars from eastern Wyandotte County should be used to pay off a football stadium 15 miles down the road on I-70 is absurd and is such an abuse of what this star bond was intended to be used for and how it was intended to be used. And anybody who's being honest, intellectually honest, should admit that. You still might think, whatever, we got the Chiefs, that's fine. You can still be in favor of it, but at least be intellectually honest about it, right? So this was brought up yesterday, and take a listen to how the Q&A goes.
How are you planning to separate growth as a result of these developments versus growth that would have happened in these districts otherwise outside of these developments, be it just natural growth or be it just inflation?
Yeah. So the district, the financing mechanism that we've put together captures the growth that is going to happen from this. And that is a core component of being able to complete the pieces that I said before. Nothing out of the state general fund, no need for full faith and credit bonds, all of those components that are the benefits of doing this with Kansas Star Bonds, we've been able to pull that off, but we also need to be able to capture the growth in the area that we create and the growth of the district so that we can both pay the lowest interest rate on the bonds and pay these bonds off quickly.
The growth that we create. That's Corb Maxwell Pulcinelli saying the growth that we, the Chiefs, create. The Chiefs will have nothing to do with any growth that happens organically or otherwise for the bulk of this star bond district. Some of that will happen just because of inflation, with things going up 2 to 3% per year. Some of that will happen because of just natural free market things that happen in Wyandotte County and the western half of Johnson County. It will have nothing to do with this stadium. And our job, as he notes there, is to capture that growth. And he says, well, there's no general fund revenue going in. Once again, if your spouse shows up with a Ferrari in the driveway and she walks in the house or he walks in the house and says, hey, don't worry, I got the Ferrari, right? But I didn't put any money down. It didn't cost us anything. Now, our payments might be $1,500 a month and we can't afford it. But don't worry, it didn't cost us anything because I'm not taking out of our savings account to pay for it. That's basically the argument he's making. That's it. And that's that's part of how they pitch this whole thing. That, well, the sales taxes are not going to increase today in any way, shape, or form. And there's no money coming out of the general fund today. But it's a grift. And, you had this back and forth going on. You could tell who was a proponent of it, and it was, once again, not along party lines. You had some Republicans. Sean Tarwater's a guy right here in the Kansas City area who I think I need to start calling him Starbond Sean, because I've never seen a guy just completely uninterested in even exploring the possibility that this is not a great deal. When you've only had 3 of 16 Starbond projects actually meet the expectations of tourism, air quotes, meaning dollars coming in from out of state. You have a lot of that going on yesterday as well. And when you hear this explained in the way that it was by the proponents and the people that are working on behalf of the Chiefs, we've got to capture the growth that we create. I would buy that if it was like just the western half of Wyandotte. But that's not the case. And that was the dead giveaway. And I'm listening to this meeting yesterday, and I'm like, they're talking about, hey, we're going to pay this thing off in 10 or 15 years. It's like, okay, well, part of the reason I'm realizing they drew the Starbond district as big as they did is because they think they might be able to pay it off faster if they abuse the idea and the premise of what a Starbond district is intended to be. I'm still not convinced that they can, but it may be their only chance. And that's part of what's going on here. 913-408-7957. There was also this moment when I thought somebody brought this up. I think it was Senator Titus, and I admit I don't know where he's from. But he asked a very fair question about, okay, let's say everything goes great. What happens in 30 years?
35 years if the Chiefs move back to Missouri or, wherever, and we've got an empty stadium here. Who's ultimately going to be responsible for this giant empty hulk of a stadium and probably a soon-to-be-abandoned commercial district?
Yeah, Senator, what I would look at is the level of investment that is being made here. This is talking about over $1 billion of private investment that is being made, and that's just on the stadium side of it. Then you start adding up all of the private investment that's being made on the ancillary development side, and you look at the long-term history of the team that we have been at Arrowhead for 60-plus years as it sits today. This is a commitment that you have the formal legal document of saying 30 years, but we were the ones that negotiated in the extensions. We were the ones that negotiated in that we would have multiple extensions to be able to stay at this facility for the very long term in a way that would be representative of what we've done at Arrowhead when we've been there for 60-plus years. And we'll be the ones that are investing all of the private capital to go and build this ancillary development area around it and moving into Johnson County and Wyandotte County. We're absolutely doing this and planning this as the long-term home of the Kansas City Chiefs for multi-generations.
The short answer would be the state, though, right?
This is going to be our long-term home, Senator, and we absolutely plan to be there for the very long term.
Oh, that's a great question. He's right, though, right? Chiefs pick up and decide we're going back to Missouri in 30 years. Then you got a stadium, and then you got all this commercial property and mixed-use property that's going to be worthless. And that's the beauty of it, because in 30 years, the Chiefs are going to have the state over a barrel saying, hey, if you don't give us what we want in 30 years, we're leaving. And if we leave, you got an empty stadium, and it's even worse because it's not just an empty stadium. It's going to be mixed-use commercial property that's going to be worthless and people are going to walk away from. And that right there is like, no, don't worry. We're here for you. We're here to be your home. It's like you're interviewing the girl who's notoriously a cheater, and you ask her, how do I know if we start dating you're not going to cheat on me? And she says, well, because you're the one. I would never cheat on you. You're the one. We just saw the Chiefs turn their backs on Missouri and Arrowhead. And now we're supposed to believe them when they say, no, this is going to be our home. This is going to be it. We would never leave you guys. Spare me. You got to have just an ounce of common sense to not buy that for a second. Dennis in Bonner Springs. What's up, Dennis?
Hey, good morning, Pete. Hey, help me out here. Maybe I'm missing something on this whole thing. You got just what I can think of. You got the home field in Wyandotte. Mm-hmm. You got the Schlitterbahn that's closed now. All these are star bombs. The Speedway's not paid off. U.S. Soccer, the American Royals not paid off. These are all star bonds that are taking sales tax money out of that area. Now you're going to throw a stadium in. What is the actual sales tax that's going to the infrastructure to what the taxpayers need? I just don't understand how they're doing this. They're just piling one on top of another, aren't they? Or am I missing something?
No, you're a simpleton, Dennis. You got to play the economic development math game. That's what you have to do, okay? That's it.
Well, I didn't wipe the stupid off my forehead this morning.
Yeah. No, you just got to be as smart as the politicians. You're right, Dennis. I mean, it's a good question to ask, but don't worry. This one's different, all right? This one's different.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
See you, man.